Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Super Bowl edition of the Ice the Kicker podcast. My name is Glen and Matt, alongside, as always, Matt Ferrara. It is the Chiefs. It is the Buccaneers. It is in Tampa, Florida. And a lot of people didn't really expect this to happen. A lot of people who were kind of nervous about how the season was going to go, the coronavirus, all the protocols. We saw the NBA do it. They delayed it. NBA finals are in October, whatever it is. Same thing with hockey. Baseball had their 60-game season. They're going to be ramped back up in a couple weeks. A lot of people didn't know how the NFL would pull this off because unlike those sports, there's an immensely bigger roster in football than in the other three. They're constantly getting in contact with each other. They're constantly hitting each other. They're constantly breathing on each other. And for the most part, this NFL season has been, without any major diabolical hiccups. There's been a couple of unfortunate situations where players had to miss games. Broncos played a whole game without a quarterback. But in the grand scheme of things, we made it to the Super Bowl, and knock on wood, we're going to play a Super Bowl without any major, COVID-related benchings. There was a little bit of a scare with the Chiefs barber getting COVID. So they had to, I don't know if you saw that, Matt. They had to rip out 20 Chiefs who were scheduled to get a haircut last Sunday. So they might not have that fresh cut for the Super Bowl, but I think they'll trade that off for playing in it.
I mean, I saw this on, I think it was ESPN. They were kind of talking about what grade would you give the NFL? And I feel like you'd have to give it an A+. I mean, knock on wood that the Super Bowl goes off perfectly. But I mean, to not only have the sport of football being played, like you said, there really wasn't any major outbreaks. I mean, they rearranged a couple games here and there early on, but nothing really crazy. I mean, I feel like the last few weeks there was really no hiccups, no nothing. I mean, the Browns had their wide receiver issue. Lamar missed one game, but I mean, outside of that, I feel like they did a fantastic job.
I think the Ravens also had 3 games in 12 days or something like that.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
And I think on top of it, another major success thing too is that they had fans in a lot of the team's games. And I think for the most part, nothing that I've heard is that there was no really outbreaks or no contact tracing back to anyone at the game. So, I mean, just tip of the cap to everybody, all the teams, Roger Goodell, that they were able to have this season successfully and even have fans. And now we're seeing that at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, that they're going to even have 25,000 fans, which is more than any team has seen so far in the past year in all sports.
Yeah, it definitely is amazing what they're able to do. We're going to get to the Super Bowl in a second. No games were canceled or postponed from what I can remember. There was no cancellations this regular season as the playoffs. So yeah, absolutely. A+ for the NFL. It was definitely the most challenging of the sports we've seen try to come back, and they pulled it off very, very well. Definitely a passing grade. Before we get to the Super Bowl itself, a major trade happened between the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams, a little bit of a quarterback swap. So Jared Goff and a plethora of draft capital will go to the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions in return will give Matthew Stafford, who finally gets out of Detroit, to Los Angeles. Now, we can go over the ins and outs of what this means for both teams, but I feel like what I've been reading over the last, few days since this trade's gone down is not about the players and draft picks involved in this trade, but it would be the potential package that has to do with a player completely not even related to this, and that's Deshaun Watson. Because once we saw what Stafford could get, we were like, wait a minute, this is what we were kind of forecasting the trade for Watson to be. Now, Watson is, Stafford's a very good quarterback, but Watson, he's younger, he's faster, he's a better quarterback in terms of who you'd want moving forward he's elite. With your franchise. So if Stafford gets all these first-round picks and Jared Goff, what on earth is Deshaun Watson going to get if the Texans can find a partner for him?
I know. It's like you just looking at the numbers. So the Rams obviously got Stafford, and they gave away Goff and that contract. And then they also gave away 2021 third-round pick, and then a first in 2022 and a first in 2023. And that's the first thing that came to mind was the Watson trade. I'm like, that basically means, to me at least, that Watson's going to be like 5 first rounder, if not at the very least 3 first rounders, a good starting quarterback, like someone like a Derek Carr, or say, if you want to say Tua, someone who at least is on a rookie deal, and then probably a top-notch elite defender. I think I remember I saw a rumor that that's what they wanted, someone starting caliber player on the back end too. So it to me, it seems unachievable that the Texans are going to trade Deshaun Watson, because I know Watson wants out, and I know I've heard that he is willing to sit out, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't think there's going to be any package that the Texans get that they're going to be willing to trade Watson away for.
Yeah, this Stafford Goff trade completely blows up the market for Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. If you're the Texans and you see what Stafford got, if I'm the Texans, I'm asking for so much more than that, because Deshaun Watson's just, that kind of talent in the NFL. And if I'm a team like the Jets or the Dolphins or the Raiders or any other of these quarterback needed teams, that's a price that I'm not really willing to go. For example, if I'm the Dolphins and I like Tua, I just drafted him less than 12 months ago. We saw what he could do in a very interesting kind of year. Didn't have a training camp, didn't have a preseason. And any interest I had in upgrading to Deshaun Watson is completely gone now because of this new price tag. I'd rather just roll the dice with Tua. If I'm the Jets, I think I'm a little bit more open to giving up all that, because I think that, Darnold, I don't think they probably think that Darnold's not going to be, the guy there. I think that's been pretty clear about how bad he's been and how he's had a few years to prove himself and still hasn't done that. But it's still, you still hesitate if you're going to make a deal like that. So this trade with the Rams and the Lions completely blows it up for the Texans. The Texans are going to ask for the world. And the Texans don't have a lot of leverage, because the way that the NFL works now, all these players have all of the leverage in the world, and they can just say, hey, if you don't trade me, I'm not going to play for you. And then the Texans just have this unhappy contract and player and asset that is just going to sit. And then that nobody wins there. So what's a potential solution here?
So focusing on what I think the Texans should and kind of will do. And again, people say that the Bob McNair, their owner, is kind of a bad guy. He did wrong by Watson. That to me leads me to believe that they are perfectly fine if he sits out. I honestly don't think they're going to hesitate to sit out, because again, I think they have every right to get what they think they should be getting for Watson. And if they don't get it in the first year, they're not going to trade him. I 100% don't. I don't see it benefiting them to get rid of him necessarily just on the fact that he wants to get traded. Listen, and I understand Watson's point of view, saying, hey, he kind of got done wrong with the fact that they didn't include him in the coaching or the GM hire, all that stuff. I get that. But, and then at the same time, it is a business, and not saying that Watson should shut up and play, not getting into that at all, because he has every right to voice his opinion too and be unhappy. That's totally warranted. But at the same time now too, the Texans don't have to get rid of him. And I honestly don't think they will this year. I think next year, when that contract kicks in, the 40 mil kicks in, and then when I think teams can trade for him a little bit easier. It'll be a little easier to trade for him. And I think the reason you see that, why the Dolphins and especially the Jets are so tied to Watson, is because they have multiple first-round picks this year. So outside of that, it's like, are those really the perfect landing spots? It's like, I don't really know, but I really just don't see the Texans getting rid of Watson, at least in this year. And honestly, I think if I'm them, you let him sit out the year, and then, hey, maybe you have a year to build that relationship up. Who knows? I have no idea, but it at least buys you some time.
Yeah, if you're the Jets and Dolphins, you're essentially going to blow up your roster. That's already not, especially the Dolphins are a little different. Let's say the Jets, you're going to blow up your roster that's already not ready to win to get Deshaun Watson. Like, if you have to give up Sam and all these picks, and then, as you said or suggested, dip into your defense now to get Deshaun Watson, it's not worth it at all. The same could be said about the Dolphins, who are a little bit closer to winning. If I'm the Texans, I'm daring Deshaun Watson to sit out. I'm daring him.
Yeah.
Call his bluff, because he's under contract. He can't move unless you trade him. Say, they should say, because they essentially have the leverage because they're the ones that he signed the contract. So this is his fault,
Yeah.
basically. They should say, sit out, retire, do whatever you want, but we're not going to trade you. And we're going to see when we get closer to training camp if you're actually serious about not wanting to be here. There's no reason to trade him today. I feel like this can linger even past the draft into the summer.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think this is going to be in the immediate kind of light. I think it's going to be an ugly process, but yeah, I think it's just going to be, listen, if Watson's not going to return their calls to mend their relationship, then why are the Texans going to kind of do right by him? I mean, it's just kind of as simple as that. And I don't really think there's going to be a deal in place unless maybe a mystery team like the Panthers give up McCaffrey and 4 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks, and they're I think they got the safety. He's a rookie guy, last name Chin, who's pretty good. And it's like they're gonna give up a guy on his second, but like, and then even that deal, it's like it's like Watson is so good that I don't think a deal the Texans get is going to be worth trading him for. And to me, that just leads me to believe that he's going to stay a Texan. I really just don't think he's going to leave.
The Texans were bad with him this year. They'll be bad without him, regardless if he's on the roster or not. They can just get a journeyman quarterback just to fill in the gap until Deshaun Watson decides he wants to play football. Does Deshaun Watson really want to give up a year of his career? Because the NFL careers, even quarterbacks, I know quarterbacks can play longer than, let's say, a running back. But those years, especially young in your 20s, when you're at your most productive, trying to get up as much numbers as possible, those are very valuable to these guys. Does Deshaun Watson, is he really a guy that's willing to give up a year of his career for this, petty little argument between him and the organization about what the hiring process was? I'm not sure that's the wisest decision for his future.
Yeah, so two things kind of just that popped in my mind about Watson. And the first one that kind of struck into my mind was like, listen, you're claiming that like McNair is a bad owner and they did you wrong. And some of it seems warranted. I get that. But it begs the question, why did you sign that extension then? Like you knew who this guy was. So and you knew what this team was about. So why did you sign that extension?
I think he signed it, but I don't think he signed it with inclination that they were going to trade Hopkins, right? And they were going to
fair, but
not give him any say in any decision makings.
That's fair, but he did sign it knowing that Bill O'Brien was his coach and GM, and then he also, you have to look at it too, is that they traded the farm for Laramie Tunsil, one of the better tackles in the NFL, and they traded that to protect his blind side. So it's like, that's not a move to me that did or was done to hurt Watson in any way. The D-Hop deal definitely was like, what the hell was that? But it almost seems like they did that because they knew they weren't going to be able to pay D-Hop. So they got what they thought they could get for him. And honestly, you couldn't really re-sign D-Hop and then keep Watson in a sense. And this is what I mean, that all these big contracts that we see in the NFL, like that Mahomes $50 million deal hasn't kicked in yet. It won't kick in for another year or two. Watson's $40 million deal, so I don't even think next year it doesn't even kick in yet, but then the following year it will. So it's like we're not seeing the effect of these massive, massive deals just yet. And I'm very, very curious to see how these teams situate themselves accordingly when these deals kick in. Like I feel like it's a bubble that is going to burst. And again, unless the salary cap drastically raises, which we know for a fact it's going down this year, not as much as they thought, but it's probably going down from like 200 to like 180, 185. So unless that salary cap bumps up to 250 in the next 3 years, I don't know how these teams like the Chiefs and the Texans or whatever team Watson goes to are going to be able to field a team around that quarterback with that big of a contract.
What I think should happen is I think Watson should try to get out of Houston, but by July and August, if it's not happening, he should just lace it up and play, because Aaron Rodgers hasn't been happy with the Green Bay organization. He's still not happy with them, but he still suits up and plays. So he can demand a trade all he wants. We'll see what the offseason brings as we get close to the draft. Maybe he gets traded there. Maybe in June and July he gets traded there. But if by the training camp start, if he's still there, he owes it to his teammates JJ Watt, those kind of guys that suit up every week and try to help him out and try to win for him to lace it up. That's kind of how I feel about it.
One real quick thing too. Honestly, if he does well, like the Texans, it's kind of almost is in a catch-22 in their favor, because if he does well, they either are going to be good, which obviously that's what you want. You want to be successful, or two, you're going to get even more for him. So it honestly, I know it may seem like the ball isn't in the Texans' court and they have no leverage, but I feel like when you really break it down, like they kind of do have the final say, and that's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And I have a feeling the Texans are going to be destroyed by the media for not doing right by this guy, and they're going to be treating him unfairly. But it is a dirty, ugly business, but it is a business at the end of the day.
Let's quickly get into the trade that started off this conversation, the Goff and Stafford trade. For me, this is more about the Rams than it is the Lions. The Lions are going to, get that draft capital. Hopefully they use it wisely and they can win for the first time in forever. I think Goff will be more of a placeholder. I don't think they're set on him being the franchise guy in Detroit. So I think they just have to take it to get those high draft picks. I think that the Rams are going to be really good now. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with going into next year and beyond, because, Stafford's gotten a raw deal in Detroit. They really don't, that organization really doesn't know how to build a roster. I think he's been to the playoffs twice in his 12 years in the NFL. Is it close to that? So I think that if you put Stafford on the Rams with Sean McVay, with a roster that's only 2 years or 3 years removed from a Super Bowl, whatever it is, this is all of a sudden a very scary team going into next year.
Yeah, it's again, I do think they overpaid a little bit, and I know a lot of that was because they wanted to get rid of that Goff contract, which I get. And I think Stafford is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player probably in the NFL. I mean, he's got a ridiculous amount of talent. However, you can't dismiss the fact that he is getting older. He's 32, something like that. He has had pretty bad injuries, so that's kind of to no surprise. So it is a very, very risky thing for the Rams to do, to essentially not have a first round pick for the next 3-4 years, whatever it is, or it's like this year's draft up until 2023. So they won't have a first round pick till 2024. And I feel like these next 2 years with Stafford are going to make or break McVay. Like if this blows up in his face, how do you keep him? And I know we looked at the offensive kind of points per game stats. They're not that good for McVay and the Rams. And I know we could kind of pin it on Goff, but it's like, is it really like all on him? Again, I think Stafford's going to thrive. Now, do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know.
That's what they're banking on. They're giving up all these draft picks for the future to get Stafford with a roster that they think that is good enough without those draft picks upcoming to get to a Super Bowl. It's kind of like what the Nets are doing in Brooklyn in the NBA.
Yeah.
They got rid of everybody to get Harden, thinking, we're just going to put all our chips to the center of the table. We need to win a championship now, next year, within the next 2 or 3 years, we need to have a championship. I think that's the route that the Rams are taking with Stafford. And I think they just figured that the upside from Stafford over Goff is enough to get them over the hump.
Yeah, and that's the best way to look at it. And I don't know if it is. That's just kind of my guess right now on February 4th, 2021. I don't know if it is going to be enough. And again, I know that defense is clearly elite, no doubt about that. But I don't know if Stafford gets them over the hump to even beat a Green Bay or beat a Tampa Bay with a fossil as Tom Brady. And then what if say Watson goes to the Niners or an NFC team? Then right off, if that happens, the Niners are definitely a favorite over the Rams in my eyes. So it's again,
but they would have a fighting chance as to what if they had Goff, they would.
Yes,
I feel. And if you look at that division, Seattle, like how much longer realistically are they going to continue? Like they've been teetering on the falling off the cliff for a couple years now. Arizona is probably the team that's up and coming in that division with Kyler Murray. And then obviously San Francisco lost all faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll see what their offseason brings. I think the Rams saw this as an opportunity to upgrade at quarterback, and as of now on February 4th, probably be one of the better teams in the NFC. Because remember, you don't need to win the division; you just need one of the wild cards. Now, are they better than the Bears now, who had a wild card spot in the NFC? Yes. Who else made the playoffs in the wild card? I'll get it right.
Wasn't Brady the wild card? The Buccaneers?
Yeah, Brady was a wild card. There was another one because they expanded it. What was it?
Not the Vikings.
Give me 1 second as my laptop loads. It wasn't the NFC East. It was the Bears. Regardless, they're better than the Bears, who made the playoffs last year.
Yes, yeah.
So that's what they were kind of doing. Let's get us a quarterback that'll get us to the playoffs, and then we'll see if our defense could take us to the Super Bowl from there.
Yeah, and honestly, just kind of relating it to the Yankees, like, again, you look at their division, like you were just rattling off, like their division doesn't look that good. And like you said, Jimmy G, not very good, clearly is hurting that team. The Seahawks seem to be somewhat on a downhill spiral right now. And you have the Cardinals are kind of stagnant. So it's kind of like, hey, how the Yankees got Kluber, which you could kind of relate to someone like Phillip Rivers, who is going to be a middle of the pack guy. You have Stafford, who I guess you could compare to that Bauer, who has a lot left in the tank to possibly win you something in the next year or two. So I guess then in that case, tip of the cap to the Rams. Again, I hope it works out for them. And if it doesn't, it's going to be McVay's ass, but that's just kind of how sports work anyway. So screw it. Just we'll wait and see.
I'm dumb. The Rams were actually one of the teams that made the playoffs. That was the wild card team.
Yes. Oh yeah. But and then that was like Goff got hurt. Walford was in, and they switched. Yeah.
Yes. So, they lost to the Seahawks. No, they beat the Seahawks.
They beat the Seahawks.
I'm so fucked up right now.
Yeah, but the Seahawks are, when you look at them, it's just like, all right, what the hell are they doing right now?
They lost the Packers 32-18 in the divisional round. It's amazing how quickly we forget things.
Yeah, honestly.
But does Stafford give them a more of a fighting chance against the Packers? That's the kind of conversation we're trying to get to eventually. We got there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely Stafford over Goff. And that roster right now is ready-made to the point where as long as there's success, you'll deal with not having the draft picks. That's because their roster's there already. Kind of like, as I said, the Nets. They're not worried about their first-round picks because they won't be lottery picks. They're trying to win a championship. I think the Rams are going the same way. Let's talk about the championship that's going to be on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. We talked about it last episode when we talked about how we got here and how this is kind of the sexiest matchup that there could have been. Tom Brady and his first year with the Buccaneers, leaving from the Patriots, going to his 10th Super Bowl. First time in NFL history that a team is also going to be the host with their team stadium hosting the Super Bowl. And then obviously you have the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs with, probably the most exciting young quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes. This game has everything. Just breaking it down, looking at where the teams are ranked. The Chiefs have the first ranked offense. Tampa has a top 10 defense. So that's an exciting matchup. Chiefs defense isn't great. It's 16th ranked, so middle of the pack, but they make plays when they need it.
Yeah.
Chiefs love to play from behind. It's just a battle of the GOATs. I saw an interview with someone, I forgot who it was, but he made a very interesting kind of side thing about this game that I didn't think about. If Patrick Mahomes, and I know he's so young and this is so far in advance, but if he wants to pass Brady to be the greatest quarterback of all time, which is so premature because this is his 4th year in the league, he needs to win this game because Brady, it would be 7-1 Brady in championships. And if Patrick wins, it would be 6-2. And Patrick would just need 4. Like that's easy. It's not, but it would be 6-2. And he's 25 years old. So you can make the argument that it's feasible for him to get to that 4 instead of the 6 that he would need if he lost this game. So that's something I found interesting. What do you think the biggest, I guess, or the most interesting aspect of this game is for you?
I mean, it's impossible to overlook the Brady to Mahomes, just kind of the passing of the torch game. And as Ric Flair once said, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing. I feel like we're this whole season, the way it ended in the playoffs, and then with Brady going from New England to to the Buccaneers, like it felt like I was watching like a whole year's worth of like a WWE kind of whole year. And then now we're at WrestleMania, and this is exactly the storyline that if you could script it, this is exactly what you would script. I mean, just absolutely textbook with how this thing has kind of played out. And Roger Goodell, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he was rooting for these two teams to end up making to the
He's
Super Bowl.
sleeping very well at night.
Oh my, they're gonna make so much money, and it's just it's like as far as like again, it might be jumping the gun a little bit, but like who I think will win, it's just like if this was WrestleMania and I could script this, I feel like you're giving it to Brady, and you're just saying, "Not yet, young boy." This is still kind of my yard.
I think
this
the
is still my
perfect
time.
situation would be Brady down by 4 with a minute and a half left. You need a touchdown to win.
Yeah,
That's how this
even,
thing has to end, right?
just that opportunity. Now, he doesn't even have to be successful. You give him that opportunity, give him a chance with the ball in his hand, and then we see what he could do. If he can't do it, maybe that's his swan song, and he's like, that's it. Granted, we know he's probably coming back next year anyway, but that's the storyline I think we all want to see. All the Brady haters and the Brady doubters, and he's too old, he's washed, he's this, he's that, and the other thing. That situation is what I want to see. I want to see what he can do in that crunch time 2-minute drill, down 7, down 6, down 5, down 4, whatever it is, to see if he can bring his team down the field 80 to 100 yards to win the game. That is what would get me the most pumped.
I mean, he's definitely coming back next year, but like, who's to say that this isn't the last time we see Tom Brady on the stage? So that's something that,
without a doubt,
whether you hate Brady or love Brady, you have to watch this game on Sunday and be like, this might be the last huge game or Super Bowl that Tom Brady plays in. He's played in 10. There's been 55? I'm not a math major. That's a decent percentage of the Super Bowls of all time that he's played
without
in.
a doubt.
So something definitely you have to watch is, him for the last time, whether he plays good, whether he plays bad. Something that the most interesting thing to me here is, as you said, the passing of the torch between Mahomes and Brady. I think if Mahomes shows out and he has another great game, wins his second straight NFL MVP, and then he's shaking hands with Brady at the end of the game at midfield as the winner, I think that's a very significant moment in the history of the NFL, kind of like how, Jordan passed it on to Kobe passed it on to LeBron, and so on. I think that's something that I'm really looking forward to. I think we'll get into our predictions later, but I'm just spoiler alert. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think that a lot of eyes here are on Mahomes. I think Brady has nothing to prove. I think if Brady loses this game, he's still going to go down as the greatest of all time until Patrick Mahomes wins his 6th or wins his 7th and beats him. But I think this is, Patrick Mahomes, this is his moment because, say what you want about the 49ers last year. They were a great team, but what did that turn out, right? They turned out to not be that good the next year. Does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? Does that translate? Does that have any correlation? I don't know. I don't think it takes away from the Chiefs Super Bowl last year, but beating Tom Brady is such a statement win for Mahomes, especially since 2 years ago, his first AFC championship was stolen from Brady in that overtime game. So I think that this could potentially be, Patrick Mahomes putting his foot down and saying, this is my league. I'm the face of this league now and for the next 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar to kind of Russell Wilson and the Seahawks come up. I mean, they destroyed who was it? The Panthers or the Broncos? Broncos, yeah.
Peyton Manning.
Just destroyed them. And then the next year they play the Pats, and we're like, oh, like Russell Wilson, he's like the next GOAT. Like, I remember people were saying like, oh, he might win one more and then win another and then just go play baseball because football is going to be too boring for him. Then literally he throws that pick at the end zone. Brady gets another ring. You subtract one that should have been for Russell, and then look at the Seahawks ever since. So I don't think that's going to happen with the Chiefs, but it's like, it's one of those situations where you don't know. Like, at the time, everything seems awesome. And you think it's going to last forever, but that's just not a reality in sports, especially in football, which is how brutal the sport is, and injuries and retirements, and even just how hard it is to hit on your draft picks and get good players. Like, in a crazy world, what if this is the last time we see the Chiefs?
Yeah.
in the
We
Super
were
Bowl.
talking about how contracts kick in. It's going to be much harder for the Chiefs to build a championship roster around Mahomes when he's taking out a quarter of the cap space available. So the
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs better win this year. They better win next year because it's going to be much harder to win after that because they're going to be paying Mahomes a ton of money. And then a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be coming up younger than Mahomes are going to be making nothing. So it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
much tougher.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and I know, like I always look up a lot of people's like comments on contracts, and they're like, oh, well, you could still build a team around him if you pay him a lot. Like I said earlier in the show right now, that has kind of yet to be proven because I mean, you look at Russell Wilson, he's getting paid like 37 mil, something like that. Their team stinks. You look at what Jared Goff was getting paid. He stunk. I mean, that was just kind of bad on them. And you look at even even say look at Tannehill's deal. He's got a massive deal, and I know he's a good quarterback, but again, they didn't do anything. So it's has yet to be seen. And same thing with Drew Brees. I mean, you're paying him so much money, and Kirk Cousins, you're paying him $30+ million. They're not winning, and the end goal is winning because a lot of teams can make the playoffs and lose in the first round. That doesn't really do much, but can you consistently make AFC, NFC championships and then Super Bowls? And then obviously the main goal is to win. And if you can't do that, then what's it all for?
What do you think is the biggest non-quarterback, I guess, X factor that's going to make a difference in this game? Because so much attention has gone, rightfully so, to Mahomes and Brady, GOAT versus future GOAT, two guys that will probably be, Mahomes is still
Mm-hmm.
25 years old, but, he's on the fast track for the Hall of Fame. Brady's going to make the Hall of Fame. If he retired 10 years ago, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. So what's I guess, wide receiver, running back, defense? What is your non-quarterback X factor in this game?
I think it's going to be the Buccaneers defensive line. I mean, again, Ndamukong Suh, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea. You have Levante Davis, the linebacker, who kind of comes on the line. I think that kind of that defensive front right there that could change the game, change the outcome of the whole game. I think they can pressure Mahomes to the point where he's not going to be able to sit back and throw that bomb deep ball to Tyreek Hill or wait and let Travis Kelce create space. I think they might smother him pretty good. To me, if the Buccaneers are going to win, it's not going to be with Brady. It's not going to be their offensive weapons. It's going to be that defensive line smothering Mahomes in the pocket, and he's not going to know what to do with the ball. And then they're not going to be able to run it down their throats either with Sue and Vita Vea up there. They're both like 350 pounds. So to me, that is definitely the X factor that I'm going with.
I think it's funny that you say that because my answer was going to be the Buccaneers secondary instead of the defense line because they said this during the Bills game. I think Tony Romo said this. You can stop Kelce, you can stop Hill, and then if Watkins is healthy, you can stop him. You can't stop all of them. So how are they going to? When I say they, I mean the Buccaneers secondary. How are they going to limit who Patrick Mahomes can get the ball to in space? Because it always seems automatic that he's going to find somebody, that somebody's going to have a big game. Remember back in November when they played during the regular season, I think Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first 10 minutes of the game. So how is the Buccaneers secondary going to negate all of these weapons that the Chiefs can throw at, any defense? I think it's almost impossible to defend all of those weapons with the best young quarterback in the game. It's almost unfair what the Chiefs have at their disposal. So for me, this game's going to come down to, can the Buccaneers secondary, one, stop, Kelce for a few drives at a time, Hill for a few drives at a time, Watkins here and there, Hilaire, if Le'Veon Bell gets involved, how are they going to stop those weapons? Also, and I think this can link into the defensive line as well, they need to win the turnover battle. They need to find a way to take the ball away from Patrick Mahomes, force a fumble, get a couple picks. Because I think if the Buccaneers don't have a turnover in this game, I don't see them winning if they don't have one.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, if you give Mahomes the most amount of possessions with the football, the most amount of possessions period, odds are those are going to be touchdowns. So not just field goals, are going to be 7 points just about every single time. And kind of building off what you were saying about the secondary, I think that's kind of been the X factor everyone's been trying to point to, saying, hey, listen, can we shut down these guys? And like you said, it's probably borderline impossible. And that's why I think the only way to make their lives easier secondary is to get pressure with the front four, not blitz, because if you blitz, that means you're having single coverage with these other guys on the outside or safeties covering Kelsey. That's not going to work. Like putting these guys in one-on-one coverage is not going to work, not with who the Buccaneers have at defense, at defensive back. So I think if they can get pressure with that front four, that to me just still is going to be the X factor. And then that's going to create turnovers for the secondary, and that's going to allow them to not have to cover as long. And I think that is the perfect recipe kind of there for the Buccaneers to win the game. And that's not even looking at Brady and the offensive side of the ball.
Let me give you this opinion. Tell me if you agree or disagree with me. If this is a shootout where there's not a lot of punts and there's just a lot of scoring, the Chiefs are going to win this game easy. Like the Buccaneers need to find a way to get this like groggy, trenches kind of game. That's just a hard, ugly game to watch as a fan. That's how I think the Buccaneers win this game. I think if it's a shootout where Mahomes and, his guys are just flying up and down the field because they're so fast, I think that's going to be a nightmare for Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just, again, stylistically, the Chiefs can score in literally 5 seconds. Even taking away their offense, their special teams, I think, is definitely better than the Buccaneers, too. And I think the Buccaneers' best chance, like in a game where offense we're focusing on, is they have to be able to run the ball well, and that's something we've seen them do very, very well with Leonard Fournette, and they still got LeSean McCoy back there, or whoever, or Ronald Jones. Those two guys, I think, in that offensive line, I think if they could impose their will on the Chiefs, especially because they got a pretty good defensive front too, if they can impose their will and run the ball, that just sets up a nice, perfect play action, skinny post over the middle for Gronk, because I don't know who's covering him. So it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I definitely do agree with you that if it is a shootout, you have to go with the Chiefs. Like, there's no way you can bet on them if you're going with a shootout.
Yeah, I think that I always think about that great Rams game that the Chiefs had a few years ago, where it was like on Monday night, it was like 55
Oh
to
my
like 45.
God, that was ridiculous.
That crazy game. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, if that's the kind of game we get from the Chiefs offense, it'll be over in like the second quarter. Like that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I'm watching this game, or I'm not watching the game. The game hasn't happened yet, but I'm like looking into it. I guess we're going to get closer to our predictions here. I think this is a very, very tough matchup for Tampa, not just because of what happened in November. They did make a late push in the second half to get that game closer than it probably should have been, and what the score indicated it was. But I just think this is a tough matchup for Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, kind of question for you: would you be surprised at all if the game at half was like 21-3 with the Chiefs taking the lead there?
I wouldn't.
I'd
be shocked if it was
so.
21-3 in favor of the Buccaneers. I'd be blown away.
Yeah,
but if it was 21-3 or 28-10, I'd be like, yeah, this is kind of what I expected to happen.
I think so too, and I think that's going to be kind of the biggest thing I think for the Buccaneers is that going into the half, you have to be down no more than like 10. Anything more than that, 14, 18, 21, it's just
I think it needs to be a 2-possession game going into the fourth quarter, and then you'll take your odds with Tom Brady. I think if it's a 3-possession game at any point, I think that it's going to be very tough for Tampa to come back, because not only do you have to score 3 times, you got to stop Kansas City 3 times. So I think that the most important thing for Tampa is they got to get it on the board first. I think that's essential. Even though we've seen in the playoffs the last 2 years, the Chiefs come back from being down early in games, like, almost like they say, go ahead, take the lead. We're just going to take it back anyway. Like they want it to happen. I still think it's very important for Tampa to get, a big lead, not a big lead, but an early lead, because they are at home technically. I'm assuming that, the 25,000, I know a lot are comp tickets to essential workers, so I'm not sure if they're all Tampa Bay fans, but I think whatever secondary market tickets there are, I think they're going to be predominantly Tampa Bay fans. So I think you get the crowd into it. I think that's something that's going to be really important for Tampa. You got to score early, because this is something that's never happened before. There's never been a home field advantage in the Super Bowl. And I think that it's, essential that Tampa Bay takes advantage of that, because that's the one advantage that they have, is that they're probably going to have some season ticket holders in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, again, just we've talked about this on previous episodes about how loud these stadiums have been with like no more than 7,000 people. Now you have 22,000. I know you were just saying like I think like 7,500 are to essential workers, and again you figure the other what 14 there or more than even the other what 20 something like that, a
Yeah.
little less than that, whatever it is. You have to assume at least more than half of those are going to be Buccaneers fans. So I think this is going to be the first instance where you really see that a team is going to be affected by the crowd noise. And obviously that would mean the Chiefs are going to be affected by the crowd noise. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do because they use a lot of pre-snap motion and they work in a lot of hard count too to see how it affects kind of their game plan going into it.
I think that the coaching matchup is very interesting because Andy Reid's a guy that's, been here, done that, did it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, also with the Eagles, he's been to a million playoff games. So he knows what these kind of games entail. Not the same could be said about Bruce Arians. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you expect from a head coach like Bruce Arians in his first Super Bowl? I know he has Tom Brady to kind of lean on, but at the end of the day, he's the head coach and he's going to make all these major decisions in this game. And we saw last year with Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers kind of, made a couple mistakes that let Kansas City get back into this game. I think that Bruce Arians can't afford to make that kind of mistake. And if he has Kansas City on the ropes, he can't make a decision that's going to let them back in the way Kyle Shanahan did the year before.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for the Buccaneers is going to be the two T's. It's going to be Tom Brady and Todd Bowles, and I think he is going to play a much bigger factor than Arians will be. I think Bowles has been a great DC. And I think his kind of ending with the Jets was, again, obviously every ending usually is a bad one, but we've seen that the Jets have been almost a laughing stock for a number of years now. So really kind of no knock on him. It's more so the organization itself. But I think he's going to wake up a lot of people and kind of start his, I guess, run back to a head coaching job for 2022, because I think he's going to control this defense and get them where they need to be to just mitigate Mahomes as best as possible and give Brady just the smallest window. And if you give him a window to win, odds are he's going to do it. So I really don't think Arians is going to have that much of an effect. I think Brady's effect in its own overpowers whatever Arians can say or do. So I'm going to be very, very curious to see after win or loss, kind of what Arians post-game thoughts are going to be, because I know he's kind of keeps it interesting. I guess we could say that.
Yeah, if Tom Brady wins this Super Bowl and Arians doesn't really have a big effect on this game, you can make the argument that the debate about is it Brady or is it Belichick is over. I think, was it Julian Edelman went on a show?
Amendola.
Yeah, Amendola went on a show. You said this in the group chat. He went on a show and said Tom Brady's the guy. He's the Patriots, not Belichick. So Tom Brady wins this game. What leg does Belichick now have to stand on when all of his Super Bowls were with Brady? I mean,
I agree, and it really is, and it very, very weird to see Amendola so animate.
It sounded like he didn't like Bill, like there was a falling out between those two.
It seems like if you go to the Patriots, you're basically signing up for you're gonna win or you're gonna get damn near close to it, but you're not necessarily going to have fun. Like, it seems like you basically sign your own like death warrant to go play for them, sell out to win. Like, you're selling your soul to the devil. And then if it happens, it happens. And I think that is kind of a precursor why so many of Belichick's proteges haven't been able to be successful, is because there's only one Belichick and there's only one New England Patriots. So many people try to be like him and like them, but it doesn't pan out. And I think, like, again, just hearing the tone of Amendola's voice was like it seems like, like you said, it seems like everybody just hates Belichick and hates the Patriot way. And honestly, they probably just feel like, hey, like they hate the way that Brady, for whatever reason, keeps kind of getting bashed on, and no one really wants to crown him, even though he's done, I would think, more than enough to be considered the GOAT.
Yeah, it sounded like he could have easily answered the question like, I think both are great, or both are the best at what they've done. But I think that I'll always give my advantage to the player. You could have made that kind of answer, but he really went after it. He was like, "No, it's Brady, and it has nothing." Basically, said it had nothing to do with Belichick. I thought that was crazy. I never
nothing to do with any of the coaches.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything with that with Amendola. I don't know. Who knows? But fact of the matter is, Brady has a chance to win a Super Bowl without Belichick, which will definitely, set off a narrative that it was Brady and not Belichick. And then now the Patriots would need to answer immediately. They're going to have to get someone. But we have a long time between now and September to talk about the Patriots quarterback situation. Let's get into it. Who do you think is going to win? I kind of showed my hand. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think the Chiefs, and it's nothing against the Buccaneers. I think actually that the Packers probably would have put up a better fight against the Chiefs because they have, Rodgers. And I just think at this point in their careers, I do think Rodgers is better than Brady. But I look at the Chiefs and I look at their coaching and I look at the weapons that they have. And I look at Patrick Mahomes and I look at the fact that their defense is good enough, right? They're not the best defense. They're not the 85 Bears, but they make the plays when they need to. I just think that this is the closest thing to like a flawless roster as you can find. I think that as long as there isn't this crazy unforeseen situation that happens in the game, I think the Chiefs win this game. I think it's going to be like a 31-21. I think it's going to be a two possession game. I think it's going to be close. And then I think that at the end, the Chiefs kind of pull away. I think what I said before, I think if the Buccaneers are going to win this game, got to force turnovers. They got to win the turnover battle. I think they need to take possessions away from the Chiefs offense because I think it's going to be tough to stop them. I don't think you can stop Watkins, Kelsey, and Hill and Mahomes all at once. I think that's impossible. So the problem with forcing turnovers against Patrick Mahomes is that Patrick Mahomes never does it, right? Other than that Dolphins game where he had 3 interceptions, they still won that game. So,
oh my God, yeah.
I've been saying it since we debuted this podcast back in September. I will believe the Chiefs lose when I see it, and I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to go Chiefs, 31-21.
I'm going to go, and again, I'd say I want to go Chiefs, but I cannot bet on any team that Tom Brady is a part of until he's no longer in the NFL. So I'm going 29-27 Bucks, and I think it's going to be a field goal as time expires for the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl. Confetti flying over.
Not there anymore.
I don't even know who the Buccaneers kicker is, but I think he's going to get it done. I think it's going to be maybe a nice little 31-yard chip shot, and that's going to be the difference right there.
Brady has the ball at the end down by like 3 with the 2 minutes left. You think that's what we're getting?
I think that's going to be the situation that we're going to get. Specifically, if I'm guessing here, I think it's going to be 20. So I guess 27-26. The Buccaneers are down. I'm going to say like a minute 39. Let's say that. I'm going to say Buccaneers maybe have like 2 timeouts, and I think they're going to storm down. It's just, I feel like maybe Gronk is going to be that X factor because the whole year Gronk really hasn't done too much. Maybe this is kind of his coming out part. Like there's got to be someone or something specifically that we're not really seeing or a part of the field that they're going to attack or someone on the Chiefs defense that they're going to just expose. And I think they're going to expose handedly to kind of keep them in the game and then eventually win them the game. That's kind of what I could foresee. And that's kind of what I'm looking for right there.
All right. So you got the Buccaneers by a score of what? You have 29-27.
Yep.
I got the Chiefs 31-21. So that's it. That's our predictions. I'm thrilled for this game. I'm so happy that this is going to be the matchup. I think that I would have liked the Packers to get in because I think Rodgers needs another championship. But since, the Packers got eliminated, I've given it a lot of thought. This is the matchup that we deserve, right? This is it has literally everything. This is like what a movie would be. This is the kind of, cheesy Disney sports movie that we deserve. So it's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be on CBS. So we're getting Tony Romo, which is always a plus.
Can't beat that.
What else do I got here? I want to say this. I think it's funny because every time I see him, I forget he's in the NFL. I'm like, oh my God, he's still there. I think JPP can have a game I do.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
No, it's again, obviously Giants fans know and love him. Question why they got rid of him, I guess you could say too. But yeah, like
Don't want to talk
JPP
about it.
is no slouch, and I again, that's why I keep leaning on that defensive front there for the Buccaneers. I think they've like, is it fair to say they've kind of been slept on? And I
Yeah.
feel like again, now finally people are going to be awake to that team and that
How many
defense,
times did they
and that
sack Rodgers on the championship game?
I think it had to be
It was a
like
decent
3 or
amount. I
something.
think it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
I
can
thought
find it.
so too. I thought it was a good amount. That and again, and I'm pretty sure JPP had 1 or if not 2 sacks.
I can bring it up. I think it was like 4. But yeah, that they need a card. They need a copy of that, and they need to force turnovers. Hold on, I can get it right here. He was sacked. Wait a second. 5 sacks against the Packers.
Jesus Christmas.
Yeah. How many turnovers?
And
They
that's
had
a good
1
offensive
turnover.
line.
They had 1 turnover, 1 interception. They had 2 forced fumbles. I can't see if they returned it. If they recovered it. But
They recovered. That was the one that Aaron Jones won.
yeah. Brady had 3 picks. Now that I'm seeing the stats for the championship, Brady had 3 picks against the Packers. That can't happen again. If they have any chance.
All in the second half too.
Yeah.
I think Brady will clean that up. I wouldn't really worry as
I
a
don't
Bucs
think there's
fan.
been a game in his 20 years where he's had back-to-back games with 3 picks.
In the second half, yeah. I can't see that happening either.
We got a couple minutes left, so let's wrap it up with that ridiculous Instagram live that Jamal Adams did, talking about the
Yes.
Jets. So apparently, if you didn't see it, he basically was talking. Who was he talking to?
I don't.
He was talking to say his bud, right? His friend, his
Yeah.
pal, and they were talking about the Jets and how when he was on the Jets, he lived by a elementary school, right? And some girl like passes his car, and the girl's like, "I didn't know you played for the Jets." And like, Jamal's like, "Yeah, I play for the Jets," thinking like he was going to be a big shot. And the girl was like, "Oh, it's a shame you don't play for the Giants. The Jets are the little brother." And apparently Jamal Adams, for what he said, thought about that for the rest of the day. And my first thought was, why are you saying this live on Instagram? This is like, that's not cool. That's actually kind of embarrassing that you're getting offended by what a girl says about the Jets and Giants rivalry. And that's why you want it out of the Jets. I think he's a very interesting guy. And I think the Jets, the more time that's been elapsed since that trade, I think the Jets really got off scot-free without that headache on the team.
Yeah, I hate using the term diva a lot because again, OBJ was considered a diva, but I think divas tend to be great players.
Mm-hmm.
And after looking at it too, again, we'll see who the Jets use for those draft picks. But I definitely think getting out of that situation was probably for the better. And I was a big proponent that they should have kept him. But yeah, I think a lot of these football players are just like, again, it might sound stupid for me being 5'8" and 170 pounds that I'd get my ass kicked by all these guys, but it's like I feel like they're just like not mentally strong. Like, I don't know if that's weird to say, but it's like, how does that affect you that much? Like you're not in the right headspace where you can kind of just brush that off your shoulder. Like, that really stuck with you, and that changed kind of your opinion on your future with the New York Jets. Like, listen, I can see it as being motivation, but it doesn't seem like it was motivation. It seemed like he took that to heart and was like, damn, like, we stink. Like, I have to get out of here. Like, that to me was just like stupid.
Yeah, I don't, because the problem with these players is they never get told no their entire lives, and then all of a sudden like something happens that isn't for their benefit, and now they need to like scream and cry. Jamal Adams said that he like got depressed when he was losing with the Jets. You don't want to take that lightly, but it's hard to take it seriously when like you go on and you complain about what an elementary school girl. I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into that, but
I get what you mean. Yeah.
I enough of Jamal. Like, congratulations on your time in Seattle. You played 1 extra game this year. Good luck.
Yeah.
Before we go, let's do some fun little prop bets. I'm going to throw you a prop bet for the Super Bowl. You're going to tell me what you think. Coin toss, heads or tails. I'm going to write this down.
Heads. All right. I'll give you a second.
Matt Prop bets.
Throw your answers on there too.
Okay. So you think it's going to be heads? I'll go
Yep.
heads. I'll agree. I always say heads. When I flip a coin, always heads. Never
Always
say tails in my entire life. They say tails never fails. Bullshit.
No.
Don't agree.
Yeah.
First offensive play from scrimmage, pass or run?
Pass. I think it's definitely be a play action bomb if the Chiefs have the ball first.
I'm going to go run. I always feel like it's a good idea to just get your feet wet in the first offensive possession, especially if it's the Buccaneers. If it's the Buccaneers, I really think it's going to be a run. But I think regardless, I think they're going to run it. Okay. Team to record the first down. So basically,
Chiefs.
who do you think is going to get the ball first? I think.
Yeah, I guess we'll go Chiefs.
Or what defense do you think is more likely to get a 3 and out? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say Chiefs first down.
All right,
why
Chiefs.
not?
I'll go Chiefs as well. Some of these prop bets are kind of ridiculous, but we're going to power through. First team to call a timeout.
Buccaneers. I think Brady definitely. He loves those timeouts. Yeah.
Okay. I think so too. I think the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last year. They know what's going on. I think a lot of these Buccaneers players haven't been in the Super Bowl. I think that's going to be a little bit of a fact that's going to, we're going to have to look out for the first 5-7 minutes of the football game. So I'm going to go Bucks too. So we both got Bucks on. We'll do a few more. Let's see what I got here. Color of the Gatorade.
Orange.
Or water.
I'm gonna go orange. Orange Gatorade.
Go orange. I feel like it's always orange.
I know. I always want to say blue. I want to say red. I want to say yellow, but I feel like orange seems to be the go-to for these NFL teams.
I'm gonna go water. I think it's gonna be water.
All right. That's a good
one. Will there be a 2-point conversion in this game?
I'll say yeah.
Yeah. I'll go no. I think this is going to be a very straightforward thing. Okay, let's see. Let's get 2 more. What do you think the total yards for the longest field goal in this game is going to be?
I'm going to say 54.
Longest field goal. You say 54?
Yep.
I'm going to go 48.
That's a good number.
Just because I like that number. I don't know.
Even number.
Final one. Let's see here. Tom Brady's total rushing yards.
Oh God. I'm gonna say -1. I'm maybe
-1.
Maybe that kneel at the end to seal the game.
Maybe. Well, that would be great. Well, not great, but that would be something. I hope you win that one. I hope you win that one.
That'd be an interesting one.
I'm gonna go 12. I think there's gonna be really funny scramble, like in the second quarter, on a 3rd down. Nobody's gonna see it coming. I think that's gonna be it. So that's it. Let's see if there's another one that's interesting to me. Okay, here, one more. Over under 2.5 minutes for the national anthem.
Oh, under. 2.5's a lot, I feel like.
Under 2.5 for the national anthem. So Matt's going to go under 2.5. I don't know who's doing the national anthem. Do you know who's doing the national anthem?
Oh my God. Should I know this? Is it Miley Cyrus?
No, she's doing like a whole concert before on TikTok. I'm very excited for that, by the way. You know I'm a big Miley guy. Yeah. But let me look it up. Hold on. This is great.
That could change it. That could change it.
Let's see. Because if it's a big diva, then they're gonna really.
Yeah. Where we draw it out.
Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan. So 2 people.
No, I'm taking less.
No, I'm gonna go over. I think 2 people. I think they're gonna both want to share the limelight. Yeah. So I'm gonna go.
That's fair.
All right, that's it.
There we go.
Do you have any at the top of your head that you can think of that you want? That you want to? I mean, I had it right in front of me. Is there anything that you think at the top of your head that might be?
The only other one I could kind of think. The only other one that I could think of is kind of longest yards for a touchdown. It's not like touchdown play, whatever that is.
Longest touchdown runner pass.
Yeah, I guess whatever scoring play.
Longest. Let me write that down. Do you think Mahomes is going to have a long bomb? I don't know if Brady can. I could. You think Mahomes is going to have one of those huge like 45-yard bombs to Hill who's running?
I was
Or do you think
going
maybe
to say,
or maybe
I was gonna
Hill
say
has a wide
43.
receiver screen and just takes it,
Yeah, I was going to say 43 was going to be my number.
43. I'm going to go 60. I'm going to go big. I think there's going to be a big one. I don't know who it's going to be.
That's
I don't know
fair.
what team it's going to be. I think somebody gets behind the defense, and I think there's going to be a big 60-yard pass. All right.
That's fair.
So that's it. We did it. We made it to the Super Bowl. And when the Super Bowl's over, we're going to do another show to recap it and to preview the offseason. How does that sound?
Can't wait.
Can't wait. So everybody enjoy the game on Sunday. Enjoy the commercials. I think a lot of companies opted out of the commercials because they want to give that money to COVID, which is awesome. Good for them.
Interesting.
But I'm sure that the commercials will still be great. I don't want to see any COVID commercials.
Yeah, it's like we've been reminded enough.
I don't mind like thanking everybody. I don't mind those commercials where everybody but I don't want people to like make mask jokes and try to make it funny.
This isn't funny.
I hate when TV shows now have COVID related plots in the show.
I don't want to be reminded of it.
We heard enough. So that's it. That's kind of my big deal with the commercials.
I'm with you there.
Commercials, enjoy the game, enjoy the weekend for halftime. And that's all I got. You have anything before I wrap it up?
No, again, just thanks everybody who's been listening up until this point, and we are not done yet.
No, we're not. We're going to go through the entire offseason. We're going to get into the draft, into the free agency. It's going to be a good time. But until then, for Matt Farrar, my name's Glen and Matt. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll see you next week.